Bag Truth Seeker, February 27th, 2018. In the headlines today, Facebook Live killing suspect turns himself in to sheriff. And the story is that yesterday, Monday, February 26th, the suspect in the fatal shooting in North Carolina that was caught on Facebook Live by the alleged victim has turned himself in, authorities said this morning. The suspect in the Monday morning shooting death of Prentice Robinson was identified as 65-year-old Douglas Cleveland Colson, Union County Sheriff's Office spokesman Tony Underwood said. Cleveland, do you recall the Stevie Steve Facebook live shooting of Easter Sunday, April 16th, 2017? This story is more mocking by the exact same code. Of course, the last shooting in Cleveland, again, was on Easter Sunday, which is a day to remember Jesus Christ. And I just want you to see that they said the shooter was 65 years old. In the language of gematria, Christianity equals 65. So does Facebook Live. And not only that, but from the date of the April 16th shooting, I meant to put this up here as a screenshot. We'll just do it again real quick. Easter Sunday was April 16th last year, 2017. That was also a date with numerology of 57. This year's shooting, yesterday, February 26th, was the 57th day of the year. Anyhow, from that date to yesterday's shooting, 316 days later, and the most famous verse in the Bible about Jesus Christ is John 3:16. And in Hebrew gematria, I'll just show you how easy this is to do. Let's just do it in real time. If you come to Google and you write English to Hebrew, it'll bring up the translator. And if you write the name Jesus Christ, you'll get the Hebrew translation. And if you highlight that and do a copy, you can go up to edit copy or you can do a Control-C, either way. Then if you go to gematrinator.com, when this website loads, the calculator gives you the 4 base ciphers. If you come down here and plug in the Hebrew gematria ciphers that only recognize Hebrew values, you'll see that in Hebrew gematria and Hebrew soffits, Jesus Christ equals 3:16. 3:16. How interesting. And again, here we are. From the Easter Sunday shooting to deja vu, a very similar story involving 2 black men, just like on Easter Sunday, we get this news 316 days later. Also relevant, if you count the full span of days, you click this box and then calculate, it'll be 317 days, which is the 66th prime number. And again, if you don't know your prime numbers, you can come to Derek's calculator, you can type in a number, click Get Properties, it'll say prime. Yes, it is prime, it's the 66th. This is why we saw the death of Tom Petty at age 66. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, 317. If you missed my work on Tom Petty's death, it's too bad. Google took it all down, but it's still up on my blog if you want to go there. Anyhow, with regards to it being a span of 317 days, and at the 66th prime number, this latest shooting came on a date with numerology of 66. And consider the Bible, revelation about the return of Jesus Christ. That's the 66th book of the Bible. New Testament equals 66, the final book about the return of Jesus Christ. And consider the name Jesus has gematria of 11. 66 is the 11th triangular number, meaning that if you add 1 through 11 together, it sums to 66. You see? Why are they doing this? Why are they coding these numbers on these manufactured stories of black men killing other black men on Facebook Live? A number of reasons. First of all, in the Bible, Jesus Christ has bronze skin and hair of wool. Now, if you had to pick what race those features identify, who would you pick? Who has hair or wool? And it just makes you wonder, has any Christian ever read the Bible? Who is this long brown haired white dude? You know, who's that guy? He's not described in the Bible. You know, all these Christians who make fun of Mormons and their magical underwear, which are worthy of being made fun of. I mean, you guys need to take a look in the mirror. Well, what are you worshiping? You know? All of this stuff is part of an ongoing agenda. White Jesus with brown hair, the Mormon religion, where the closer you get to God is the whiter your skin becomes, as is expressed in the Book of Mormon. All of this stuff is part of an ongoing agenda, and it's because the Jews of the Bible are dark-skinned people with hair or wool. Who do we call the Jews of the world? Light-skinned people, you know? People that don't fit the features. And in the 66th book of the Bible, it says the false Jews will rule in the end times. And those people go by the Talmud. And in the Talmud, you know, if you've never read the Talmud, it's really disturbing. Even if you're not a Christian, just the things they say they would do to Jesus, you know. I think they said they would boil Jesus in semen. All sorts of sick shit in the Talmud. You know, the Talmud's the most perverse book ever written. But you start to look at all this stuff, okay, false Jews, they hate Jesus. Jesus is very clearly of African descent. All of these rituals, you know, killings of black men by these numbers, connecting to Jesus. Let's go back to the Cleveland shooting. Robert Godwin Sr., he was the man killed. Remember, his name was at first was Robert Goodwin, but then the next day it became Robert Godwin. And now this name's been made permanent in Cleveland. On September 2nd, 2017, City of Cleveland dedicates Robert Godwin Sr. Way to Facebook murder victim. And notice, they did this on September 2nd, right? September 2nd, 9/2. Look at the gematria of Robert Godwin Sr. Way. 92, which in numerology is 9 plus 2 equals 11, which brings us back to Jesus. 97 represents death. 223, biblical number of the false Jews, the Zionist Jews. 223 is also the 48th prime number. This happened on a date with numerology of 48, Cleveland 48, Freemason 48, James 48. This entire thing was a ritual synced up with the NBA Finals, as I covered the day of. It's too bad my Stevie Steve video was taken down. That was the most successful video I ever made out of the thousands of videos I put out. In less than 24 hours, that video had 250,000 views. And by the time my channel was taken down, it had nearly 1 million views. Most viewed video I ever made, exposing the Stevie Steve shooting. It's not hard to see why my channel's been taken down, is it? Because I've given people the knowledge was getting out there that allows you to see through this propaganda. And here, I just want to point out something else in light of the Robert Godwin thing. Hold on. Robert Godwin, gematria of 66 as well. He was Robert Godwin Sr. 187, like the homicide code, the number that comes from the 187 chapters of the Torah that begin the Bible. 191, like the Society of Jesus. 191 is the 43rd prime. Jesus Christ has gematria 43. You see? Jesus Christ also 146. The shooting was April 16th, which is a reshuffling of those numbers. But look at this as well. Robert Godwin Sr., 83, like Yeshua, like Jesus Christ. Robert Godwin Sr., also 79, like Yeshua. Consider the word murder has gematria in the base ciphers of 79 and 83 too. And that's the story. Jesus Christ murdered on the cross. You know. Even more, they made that road sign 139 days after his death. Freemasonry 139. The English translations of the Bibles, all highly Masonic. But here, there was one more thing I wanted to show. I'm going to cheat here and bring up all the ciphers. It's one of the base ciphers with the exceptions in reverse. Jesus Christ in reverse gematria, when you make E22, becomes 92, you know? And again, this man shot on Easter Sunday, you know? Notice Jesus Christ 59 in septenary. Just like Black History Month is 59 in Chaldean. Like Carter G. Woodson is 59 in Chaldean, the father of Black history. And then using the alphabetic order, English ordinal, Negro 59, Slave 59, Blues 59. There's a reason these numbers have been stamped, all over Black history. February, the month that ends on the 59th day of the year. This story comes at the end of February, But I just want you to see what they're doing. And it couldn't be any more clear. The mocking is always so thick. That's why even without gematria, you should just be able to look at this and go, really? The shooter's name is Cleveland, huh? I mean, have you heard about a story like this? A Facebook live killing since the Easter Sunday Cleveland shooting? See, I used to just always look at the news like this for more than a decade. I go, man, they just shovel people bullshit. It's so obvious it's contrived. It's all to push stereotypes and programming and agenda. I saw it for so long, and I would just point out things like this to people. I'd say, if this was 10 years ago, I would have said, don't you think it's weird that there's another one of these stories and it's so similar and the guy's name's Cleveland? And the people around me probably say, no, it's just a coincidence. Because that was my life from September 11th, 2001 on until the day I discovered gematria. Just getting sick of everybody dismissing the obvious mocking and lies and tyranny as coincidence. And I said, I got to do something to break this coincidence programming. I have to figure out that something greater is going on here. And I knew there was something up with numbers too. And I began looking. And I found gematria. And I said, maybe this is it. Maybe this is what's going on. So I began decoding and been decoding ever since, showing what they're truly doing, How many examples, crystal clear examples, have I given people of the relevance of this code? From the beginning, I've taught that this reduction method is the most important. When a sign goes up with 92 gematria on September 2nd, and a person's here for years teaching about this letters and numbers code and dates on the calendar and how everything's done ritualistically this way. And I mean, how many examples just like this have I shown since 2013? Thousands. How could anyone still call it a coincidence? Just goes to show you, your fellow man, they're a burden. What they are useful idiots for these people who create this crap. Your fellow man are mostly just a bunch of useful idiots who are just here to get used and abused by this game. Which is funny because in the Talmud, it says that non-Jews are goyim idiots. They're too dumb for their own good, and their only purpose is to be used and abused by the Jew. Perfectly expressed in the Talmud. And for those of us who are awake, it's perfectly realized by just looking at your fellow man. A bunch of goyim idiots. The other thing is, the tyrants who control this world, there's a lot of desperate people. There's a lot of people who are desperate to keep a roof over their head, food on the table. Because there's so many desperate people, there's all sorts of people willing to get used and abused, I'm sure the two people who participated in this, just like the two people who participated in the Stevie Steve incident, they got something for doing that, There was some reward. There was some incentive. That's the problem. These false ones, they control it all. The media, the government, the money. They control all the things that have influence over people. Thus, they control the desperate people. They want it this way. Got desperate people, it's easy to get them to do things for you. Psychology 101. So we'll leave it there, Truth Seeker. Till next time.